Hello and welcome to the skating lesson. I'm Dave Leese, and I'm thrilled to welcome back Maya Bagriantseva. Maya, we have big news today with the ISU and the Russian figure skating athletes. And I just wanted to point out that I have decided that you are neutral. You used to cover politics. You live in Latvia. You are not a member of Russia, though you do have relatives in Russia. So you kind of skirt the line. So I'm going to try to keep it. I'm going to let you not be controversial and I'll give my opinions and I'll try because people on Twitter, when I said that you were coming, people were really like taking their outrage. I said questions about, the rules, and people were asking all sorts of other things. So yes,
I'm used to being crucified by everyone. In Russia, I'm crucified for being pro-Western. Sometimes in Twitter, I read that I'm pro-doping. So, I'm kind of used to that. But I'm happy to be the first neutral athlete from Russia qualified. Thank you, the
yes,
commission.
yes. Elena Bechki is going to be the second for Russian nationals. So
Okay.
yes. It was funny, like there are certain Russians who are on the Stars on Ice tour and they've been grandfathered in. Like everybody loves Natalia
Oh.
Anenko, so she is grandfathered in, Her former partner was banned by the USFS, he's not. So there are certain people you're like, okay,
You're
Russia.
kind of selective. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
like Gordieva. She's fine.
She's the icon, the queen. Everybody loves her.
Everybody loves her.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Terry, more controversial. The rules.
A little bit. Yeah.
A little bit,
Okay.
yes. So first of all, I need to congratulate you. You are a part of one of my favorite skating documentaries that I have ever seen in all of time. I just want to say that personally, when we talk offline, that we get into debates that people would probably love to hear. I always told you that Kosternaya doing pairs was going to be the most entertaining thing. And you are the star narrator of the new documentary about Alyona Kosternaya and Georgi Kunitsa, and it is quite the
I never
look.
believed in them. The way you did, I never did.
I told you she was the story. I said she is going to entertain us. What a documentary. Have you watched
It's
it
just
yet?
the first episode released. The next one will be released next week. I hope you all watch it. I haven't watched it myself because I hate seeing myself on the screen. I feel so shy and embarrassed. But tell me if it was good or bad, okay?
When did you cut your hair? Because I'm forgetting when you took it. I was trying to figure out when you filmed it because I think of you as
It
having the
was
short hair.
filmed in September, and it was a funny thing. When I was filming it, actually, Alona was going to continue with her sport career. And she was going to be part of our sports season. And I was so enthusiastic. I was so thrilled. I was so like, Alona, go. And then just a week after we did the shooting, it turns out she's taking a break. And I felt so stupid. I was like, okay, it would have been a different story if I knew that from the beginning. But
Yeah.
the hair is just different because makeup artists decided that, it should have been this way. I didn't agree, but whatever. Let's go to big news.
I just wanted to say that I always had known that Kosternaya had a lot of character on the ice and a lot of emotions.
Oh, she has quite a character. Yes. Oh,
So
yes.
when I mentioned that to a Terry that bring her to the Olympics and she laughed, I felt like we understood each other in that moment. And after seeing this film, I feel more confident
You were
about that.
right. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so I have a lot of questions about the rules. I was spending time reading them about, first of all, the ISU announced this morning during Russian Nationals that they are going to allow the Russian figure skaters back, but as neutral athletes. Now, we had talked
No,
about
no, no. Wait a second. No, no, no. The ISU has not allowed Russians back. It's just they allowed Russians to participate in the Olympic qualifier and then in Milano. We don't
Yes,
know if Russians are back for the season, for Grand Prix Series. We don't know that yet. That decision hasn't been made yet. It's just
correct.
this communication that we're talking about is
Yes.
only about the qualifier and the Olympics, which is already a lot. Okay.
Yes. My understanding, by the way, for the Grand Prix, I've thought about this a lot, is it's based off of the ISU rankings, which go for 3 years. So Russia has not been around for 3 years. So if they go by the rules, unless Congress decides to do something else, they would have to get the spots that are invitation only for some of these Grand Prix spots. So obviously, if they had, Cup of Russia is not reinstated as far as, we just got the list, but they would have to get invited back. It would kind of be interesting to see the Russians at some of these ISU challengers to have to work their way back
Yeah, they
up
have to win the challenger to get the invitation. Yeah.
yeah, so I think that would be interesting, like a real Hunger Games. And I encourage the ISU to do this because Russia is a very confident federation, and I think it would be interesting to watch them, earn their way back.
Yeah,
Okay.
but this decision can happen only, like, let's say the next ISU Council offline meeting in Boston in March. They can decide that Russians should be allowed back as neutrals. Yes, this can happen. But so far, we're talking only about Olympic qualifier, no Russian judges, just one one athlete for each discipline. So one man, one woman, one pair, one ice dance team.
Okay, so the first thing, they keep referencing February 2025 in this document, and that date is going to be really important. Why? They have to submit who they want to send to the qualifier in February 2025. Do you know why the date is in February?
Yes, the date actually is starting February 1st and until February 28th. Russia has to submit the list of the athletes that it wants to participate in the qualifier in Beijing in September 2025. And then the special commission, a special commission that is to be established by the ISU, it will consist of 3 ISU council members and 1 IOC athlete commission. So these people will do the screening for this list. So Russia has a chance to apply for 1 athlete in each discipline plus 1 substitute. But this substitute only can go to different events, to this Olympic qualifier, only if there is an injury or sickness of the first candidate. It's not like the first choice athlete is not considered neutral, so bring on the second one. Russia has only 1 shot, and that's why this choice is going to be really important and really challenging for Russian Federation of Figure Skating, because you cannot get any mistakes. There's only 1 shot you can take.
I hope you're excited. This means we're going to be very busy. We're going to have a lot to discuss. We're going to have a lot of competitions and interest. And already there's so many news items. You are going to be busier than you've ever been. I hope that you're very excited.
Actually, today was supposed to be my day off. I was going to just spend the whole day in bed watching Russian nationals. And then this news, happened. And obviously, I'm already losing my voice. But actually, the news came during the practice of ice dance, not the practice, but the 6-minute warm-up of the Russian ice dance free dance. And Stepanova Bukin and Khudabardieva Bazin and all the other Russian dancers learned that just being at the arena on the ice during that 6-minute warm-up. So that's like a movie happening, Why February? Coming back to your question, I think it's
yes,
because they need time. The ISU and IOC, they need time to review the application. They need to find out if those athletes are neutral indeed, and then the ISU has to give the list to the IOC. They have to do their own review. So it will take some time. Then they have to inform this particular athlete. They're not going to inform the federation. They're not going to inform the Olympic Committee of Russia. It's just a direct email or, I don't know, DHL message to that particular athlete that, okay, your neutral status is approved. You can go to the challenger in Beijing in September.
Yeah, I have to say I was disappointed. Like most ISU documents, I find them to be very unclear. And in this situation, there are so many nuances to all of this that really...
It's very broad. I mean, you can understand it either way.
Yes, yes. And this is often the case in figure skating in many rules, whatnot. It's not written in great English. But I do have many, many questions about this situation. And I wanted to point out that other sports, because we had heard this rumor a couple days ago, we actually had this discussion, and you actually felt that the pairs looked nervous in the short program and that maybe people had an inkling that this was coming. This has been discussed the last weeks that this was happening.
It's been a very wide discussion in Russian media, I would say, for more than 10 days. People keep having this information. I think that somebody from the Russian Federation of Figure Skating has, slipped this information to some media because they've been discussing that as it was decided. I heard it from a number of
I
people
also
that
would imagine that there have been back channel communications, right? So that with athletes are going to be okay and which ones are not. But I wanted to, because there's two prongs really to this. There's a doping arm of this, and then there is the war. So I wanted to start with the doping because it's just the first topic and it's less involved than okay. So the rules about an association with a doping violation, it's reference to the Olympic qualifier, correct? Because remember, Valyeva is on a 4-year suspension from December 25th, 2021. So technically, Petrosia, we're talking about who's going to represent them at the qualifier as opposed to the Olympics, correct?
It's going to be one and the same person. It cannot be, let's say, Petrosian at the qualifier and then Valyeva at the Olympics. It's one and the same name, one and the same quarter that would be announced, let's say, end of spring, and you cannot then change it.
Well, the quota typically goes to the country, right? The quota
But
doesn't.
no, not in this particular case. No.
Okay. So
that's why it's such a challenge for Russian Federation, because actually you have to nominate your athlete a year before the Olympics. And if the injury happens, then there's only one substitute. And there is no, that's why I'm telling you, it's very challenging. It's a very hard decision. You have to predict the physical shape and mental shape of the person a year before the Olympics.
Can we officially say that Valyeva will not be at the Olympics?
Yes.
Like in House was saying that she was going to make some comeback. Okay. Well, I think it's
she can have her come back for Russian nationals if the Russian nationals are being delayed, because this year they started December 19th. If next year it's December 26th, let's say, then Valyeva can participate in next year Russian nationals, but it has nothing to do with the Olympics anymore. This was our understanding, that Russian nationals of the next season would be the decisive event for the Olympics, but not anymore, not after this ISU communication.
I think it's interesting because, Petrosian has been thought of as Russia's #1 skater, at least for the last year to 2 years.
She's skated perfectly today at the short program at the nationals,
but she is entering the transitional age, right? Things get dicey for figure skaters. And according to the rules, you cannot be coached by someone who's associated with a doping violation. So does this
officially that nominated athletes and their support personnel must have not associated in any way with any person serving a period of ineligibility for an anti-doping rule violation, which again is a very broad understanding. As far as I understand, Eteri Tudberidze, Daniil Glehengaus, and Sergei Dudakov cannot be a coach for a Russian nominated, let's say neutral nominated athlete. Can the nominated athlete be associated with Kamila Valyeva? And what does this association mean? We don't know. If they used to train at the same rink, is that the association they're talking about? If they, I don't know, hang out in the dressing room, is that the association we're talking about? This is unclear. But I would say that the coach thing, like support personnel, is pretty clear.
Yeah, typically it would go to the athlete, right? In this situation, Petrosian was a minor. She was in the same rink, ostensibly she had, no knowledge that Valyeva was doing that, but definitely the coaches. So that would lead me to ask, would she have to switch coaches, or is the fact that she's already been coached by Team Tudberidze and everybody knows her as a Team Tudberidze skater, is that enough to really almost disqualify her because everybody knows that those have been her coaches?
Yeah, this is the thing I'm going to be repeating quite a lot this podcast of ours. We don't know.
If we had to choose,
because
can I tell you why I wouldn't pick her?
Yeah, why?
She's entering the puberty age, right? And normally I wouldn't, but this is 9 months out, so it's February to September, right? Strategically. And she's coached by
not only to September, February to February. This is even more important.
And she has Team Tudberidze coaches. She does not have the best skating skills. And really, She hasn't had a lot of international tournaments, right? So now we're picking
But
someone.
she has triple axel and quad toe and a
Terry
number of
triple
quad.
axel. Dudikov triple axel is always here today, gone tomorrow, right? As has hers has been.
Even Amber Glenn got her cue at the triple axel at one of the tournaments. So this
I
can
would say
happen.
Amber's technique is better, right, than Petrosian's. I'm just saying she would have to switch coaches at the minimum, right, to go to someone else.
This has to be decided, obviously, by the federation. But let's also point out that this Olympic qualifier in Beijing, it wouldn't be a problem for any of the Russian athletes trying to get a neutral qualification, because it used to be Nebelhorn in Oberstdorf. Now it's going to be in Beijing, and it's not the top of the top, athletes going there.
Correct.
So it's doable. I would say that's not a problem for any of the Russian skaters that would have, been appointed to go there. But Petrosyan, I don't know. Today, Anton Sikharulidze and Alexander Kogan, the Russian heads of the Russian Federation of Figure Skating, said that they actually do not know much yet, because this is a very fresh and new document and they have to have a number of consultations, but they will definitely have to come up with with a skater that has maximum chances of getting that neutral status. And if that was my shot, I would have preferred probably somebody else. Yes.
I prefer somebody else, and I'm going to lead you through what I'm thinking, and it's going to be the best thing for figure skating.
Okay.
Elizaveta Tuktamisheva.
Oh, yes. Can I please sign now?
Do you know why? She doesn't have a doping violation. Her coaches do not have doping violations.
Yep.
She's old. She's consistent. We know what she can do. She's not going to change her ability, and she's beloved. Because right when the Russians are coming back, there's a lot of people who are going to be against the Russians and not be happy that they're back. You don't know how they're going to be judged, right? They could be judged not consistently across the board, especially a Team Tugberidze skater, which is even more controversial.
Especially without the Russian judge.
Elizaveta Tuktamisheva is beloved around the world. People feel that she has deserved to go to the Olympics in the past, but hasn't been named. Her coach is not involved in a controversy here, and she's minimally involved in some of the things that we would have to discuss about being pro-war. I would say she's certainly not high on the list.
Clean. Yeah.
And she's a known skater, because otherwise you're sending unknown skaters to the Olympics. And she's not in training right now. She would have time, right, to get prepared for September. And I would believe in her to do that.
No, there is no time to prepare for September. This is the only problem here. The federation has to nominate that athlete by February.
Yes.
And Elizaveta now is in the perfect show form, shape. She was opening this Russian nationals with her gala number. She is fantastic in shows, but her triple axel is gone, and she hasn't competed for like a lot of time. And even to skate the clean free program, she must have, started practicing a year ago. I believe in her. Personally, I believe in her. I believe, if that was for me, it would have been Elizaveta Tuktamisheva, because I think that the country owns her, really owes her. But the federation has to point a skater that has clear chances of medaling at the Olympics. And with the current condition that Elizaveta is in, that's not very likely. Although she was asked today if this news changes the situation around her. And she said, everything is possible. Because in Russia, we have one big tournament left. So Russian nationals and tomorrow. And then mid-February, we have our own Grand Prix final. Because, we have our own Grand Prix circuit, Russian Grand Prix events, 5 events, not 6 events like ISU. And the Grand Prix final is mid-February, 16th, 19th, I think. So technically, it can be decided there. But I have a feeling that everything will be decided after this Russian nationals over the long Christmas break that Russians usually have around beginning of January. So that would be my understanding.
I still think she's the best shot, and I will fight you on this one, but it's okay.
Well, you don't have to fight me because I'm with you. I would love to see her.
You can get from show shape to competition shape. Jason Brown has done it. And I think that she is an experienced and talented skater who could do it. I'm not saying it's easy.
Russian version of competition shape differs from Jason Brown competition shape.
But I would like to see a Russian man do his transitions and try to jump. So
no, don't misunderstand me. I understand that Elizaveta would be the best PR option Russia can get. That's for sure. And I personally love her on the ice. And I think it would be fantastic to see her, Kaori, and Ember at the Olympics. That would be just a movie happening, right? I'm just telling you that Russian Federation of Figure Skating wants maximum shot, like maximum. They need the chance to get medals, because if you send Russian figure skaters as
their strength, Russian figure skating strength of the people involved with skating, not just the people like Sikorolitsa, but also the Tarasova, the Zhulins, the people that are speaking in the media. I think that they are going to need to be more diplomatic than ever when they come back.
Yes, they should. Yeah, this is the thing about the...
They are perceived as arrogant, cheating, doping, in your face. We think we're better than everyone, warmongers, right? I know. Someone like Tuktamisheva is kind of like a smooth, like a safe, inviting, if you have the latest Tum Tuberidze skater, even coached by someone else, the perception is not just that Valyeva doped.
It would be like the same trick. Yeah. Everybody will say, okay,
same trick, different day. Yeah. So that's why I wouldn't go with that.
I would love to have some media training for somebody from the Russian Federation of Figure Skating. But to be honest, I would say that Anton Sikharulidze is doing a pretty good job. He hasn't given any like toxic comments. He has been acting smart. And I'm sure he keeps connections with the skaters of his generation who are now holding like positions at different federations. And I'm sure that they have contact with the ISU. And I mean, they're behaving smart. And without them, this would not have happened.
Now, next question. What about Pavel Slusharenko? He is a Team Tuberidze coach. So
no, he's not. Officially not. No.
Are the pairs not under Team Tuberidze's rink? And
no, he has his rink in Perm, which is not in Moscow, far away from Moscow. Sometimes he comes to Moscow and has some classes with Tuberidze team, but he is an independent coach with his own rink and his own coaching team.
So is Boykova Kozlovsky, are they considered Team Tuberidze because they post them on the Team Tuberidze account?
Considered, Boykova and Kozlovsky are Team Tuberidze. They're being coached by Trenkov, Tuberidze, Alexei Tikhonov, and 5 or even 6 other coaches.
But wasn't Pavel part of the team at times?
Yes, sometimes he's standing with them by the boards, but he is not their like coach. They have connections. Those two schools have connections, but Boykova Kozlovsky is Team Tuberidze, and let's say Osokina Gritsayenko, another team, Slusarenko's team, they are not considered to be Team Tuberidze.
Now, if they are associated with Eteri, now I know, and you know, Eteri is not really coaching the pairs. I mean, frankly, she's been off helping the big girls lose weight, right? Like she is not really in the rink, but on paper she is, right?
How can you know that? How can I know that? We can have assumptions.
Скажите, пожалуйста. We see Eteri Tuberidze in Miami. We see her visiting Diana. She teaches spin lessons in Virginia, allegedly.
Okay, let me give you some information that you probably haven't heard. What I heard from a number of coaches that know what's happening in Russian pair skating is that Eteri Tuberidze is very thrilled and she's very enthusiastic about the pair section of her school.
Of course.
I know that she's been helping some pairs at her school quite a lot. Some teams with particular jumps. I know that for sure. I cannot say that she's not involved. That would not be true. She is involved.
She doesn't help with the jumps of her own skaters. That's Dudakov's job, right? Like she helps, she goes like this, right? We see her go like this, but it's Dudikov who's teaching the jumps.
I've interviewed a number of skaters who told me that Etere Tudberidze helped them with the
Okay.
jumps. So why
Okay.
shouldn't I believe them?
Okay. Are you think so? Do you think that the fact that Boykova Kozlovsky are with Team Tudberidze, is that a mark against them being named?
I think that being silver Russian nationals, what happened today, is very against them. This is the biggest factor against them because that silver was not like we almost got the gold. That silver is we should have gotten bronze, but judges gave us silver. Both their short and their free were not clean. They're not in the good shape. And the worst is that psychologically, there's no winning ability, like winning mentality. So I don't think that anybody would bet on them. But again, we have to highlight that one of the criteria that Russian Federation of Figure Skating will be using will not be solely about the skating abilities, skating skills, jumping. It's going to be, the thing with politics that we're going to cover, the thing with, okay, let's say, are you associated with the doping or anything? It's going to be so many different things that they have to take into consideration. I don't know, this phrasing that we quoted, like nominated athletes must not have, be associated in any way with any person serving a period of ineligibility. I don't know. The fact that Kamila Valieva used to train at that particular rink, actually, technically, it's not that rink anymore. They changed the skating school, right? Etere Tudberidze has a new rink now. I don't know. We'll
I
see.
miss
I just
Renan
think
Leisha. He was so good. Renan, he was.
I just think that Russian Federation of Figure Skating will have a chance of, having some informal talks with ISU to clear those rules a bit because they seem very unclear to me at the moment.
Yes. But I don't think the Boykova and Kozlovsky are out of it completely yet, and we'll discuss that why as this continues.
Okay.
Because the next part has to do with being pro-war. And I want to really go into this because we need to talk about the coaches. Because if we think about the big coaches in Russian figure skating, I would say the biggest tier one names would be Tudberidze, Blushenka, Julin, Moskvina, and Misha. Right?
Yeah.
And the one person who was at the rally posting videos on his own Instagram, partying with Svetlana Horkina, was Evgeny Plushenko, right? He was all over the first initial rally, the really big one where, Tarasa Morozov and Nikita up at front and center. Second, Yana Rudkovskaya and Evgeny Plushenko had a show in Tula. And this is a very controversial one because this is where the skaters were in the t-shirts. And before the show, it became an anti-war rally. It's really difficult to imagine going to a show in New Jersey and having it turn into a war rally. Like, this is very difficult to understand, but this was obviously very strategic. There were a lot of people being very pro-war strategically. They were getting government contracts at the time. And Plushenko and Rudkovskaya turned this show into a war rally. And there are skaters there. Tuktamisheva and Boykova both spoke out against this. They said that they didn't know. And I just
they didn't know. That's true. They didn't know. They learned that when they got to the arena. They were shocked. They were not surprised. They were shocked. They were trying to sort it out. They tried to involve the federation, but they couldn't do anything. And I know that after that show, Ukraine included them into the sanctions list.
Yes.
And actually, it included Stepanova, Bukin, Mishnin, Galamov, Bekoven, Kozlovsky, Semenenko, Kondratyuk. There are many top Russian skaters there. We just don't know yet if that commission that is to review that list submitted by Russians, if that commission will take those sanctions into account. We don't know that yet. But I want to highlight that those skaters, they didn't know what they're going to participate in, and they tried to get out of it.
I'm trying to look at like a clear mind, right? Knowing what happened, knowing that the benefit of the doubt usually goes to the athletes. Those particular skaters have not been pro-war on social media like other skaters have. And I think that they have obviously a chance, right? Like they have.
Yes, they do, but not. I don't think that Plushenko as a coach, as the support personnel, will be
I
qualified
think
as
he has
neutral. He has
no
zero
chance.
chances. Because
Zero.
this form that we're talking about, which
Mhm.
is the application form for status of individual neutral athlete support personnel, it clearly states that you have to, cannot allow this type of things. So Plushenko, definitely we will not see him by the boards at the Olympics.
Now, there have been other coaches who have been rising in Russian skating during this time. But what about any coach who coaches at CSKA, right? Because this is the Red Army rink, and this is where Stanislav Zhuk obviously coached for many years. But this is a military rink, which is different, than just a government rink, right? Because these rules really talk about military support in military rinks. So that would be CSKA and Dynamo, correct?
As far as I know, by the way, they changed the name of the school some time ago. It's not
Okay.
CSCK anymore. It's the sports school named after Zhuk.
Okay.
But, we understand why that happened, right? Um, Officially, it says that athletes cannot be contracted to the Russian or Belarus military or national security agencies.
Hmm.
This is, again, a very broad phrasing. Because
Hmm.
we have, like in Italy, many skaters are part of police,
Hmm.
and they have police here on their uniform. We have the same, like Dinamo
Hmm.
is actually the same as like police in Italy, right? Um, I just don't know if they're gonna treat it like, let's say, Mark Kondratyuk represents CSCK, now this sports school named after Zhuk. I don't know. I wish I knew the answers, but officially, I mean, this document seems like a document that can justify any decision.
Hmm.
Because if you want to, I would not say drown the athlete, but I mean, you can nominate any athlete and then prove that he is ineligible. At the
Yes,
same
I've
time, if you
seen this
want
on
the
Twitter.
athlete to remain on the list, then you can prove he is eligible. Officially, document states that Russians can file an appeal to CAS,
Mhm.
but we know it takes forever, and Russians do not have time because they need to qualify for that event. I don't know.
People were trying to point the pictures of Putin with the athletes after the Olympics when they have the medal ceremony. However, that is a very standard, non-war related ceremony that happens after every Olympic Games, summer and winter. The United States also does that, with President Biden, with President Trump, with whoever. So I don't think that just going to the ceremony where they are receiving an award for being an Olympic medalist really means much, at least in my opinion, right? If I were on the council, I would not be as aggressive as some people on Twitter have been regarding that, knowing the history of those sorts of ceremonies. I don't think that
Yeah,
that's.
thank you for highlighting that those particular pictures of, let's say, Galyamov receiving that gold medal from Putin. It's a regular thing happening every 2 years, after every Olympics, right? Let's say,
Mhm.
although Anna Sherbakova was not present at that meeting, so she
Smartest.
doesn't have any pictures with Vladimir Putin. I don't think that many skaters could have, missed that meeting, and they kind of had to be there. We have the same with Stepanov and Bukin because they were guests of the federal, I don't know how you call that. Once a year, there's a federal address by the president to Russian Senate, and there are many,
Similar to
many
our
people in
State
the
of the
audience.
Union, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
by
Like State of perfect. Thank you. My brain is not working. State of the Union. Yeah. And some prominent skaters and athletes are there. And Stepanov and Bukin were there. And also, oh, by the way, we have to also um, highlight that the ISU document states that even if you delete any of your social media posts,
Mhm.
it still counts.
Of course.
So it doesn't make any sense now to go and, make your Instagram profile only
He's a
containing
Julin
cat
skater,
flower.
right? Julin says all sorts of things in the media, very pro-Russia, very anti-West. Being coached by Julin, I if I had a Russian team, I would send them to North America very quickly, right? If I wanted them to, or to Italy, if I
Who
wanted
in North America would take Russian team of ice dance? Tell me, who's that coach? Marina
you know,
Zueva?
maybe, but probably someone who's more desperate. So I would think like Kilyakov, who took Diana Davis in the height of the Valyeva and Russian war scandal.
Kilikov has his son at his rink. Would he risk that? I doubt.
Someone desperate is all I'm saying, right? Like I think that you need to, and he doesn't have a lot of teams right now. You know, you can justify certain things. He took Tudoridz's daughter and Tudoridzha in at the height, right? So I would think, you know, Fusarpoli is always trying to, you know, help her team get ahead. I think there are certain coaches that would be more open to that conversation than others.
Probably.
You know, I think being coached by Julin could be a little bit controversial given
At the
his
same time, being coached by Julin just brought Elizaveta Khudaberdieva silver at Russian nationals, although probably without his support, she would have been third. So, you know, it works both ways.
yes, also, but Julin has made a lot of very controversial comments, and I think we could, you know,
Oh, yeah.
go
I
on
wish he didn't do that.
and we could look at what he has said about Ukraine, the West, the war. I think he could potentially be negated. Stepanov
He
and
cannot qualify as the neutral athlete support personnel either. Let's cross him out as well.
yes, although could his assistant coach, right? Maybe, right? Who's not.
Yeah, every coach team has some assistant coaches that can go there, that's for sure. Also, this document states that ISU definitely can limit the number of support personnel for the athletes. So it's up to them. Actually, the whole document screams it's up to us.
Yes,
So
because support personnel, you could be coached by someone every day at home, but then a different coach would take you to the competition. So does that mean that you're coached by them or not, right? Like, what if,
yeah,
you know, Surskaya would be to take Petrosian to the competition? Would that count? Right? I think that's up for debate. Okay. What about skating in a Navka show? This I see raised a lot, right? Now, Tatiana Navka, this is technically government money that's coming, you know, that's being awarded. She is tied to Dmitry.
not technically, actually, not technically, but the opposite. Like we know it's government money,
Yeah.
but on the paper, it's not.
Okay. I would say a Navka show is a government show. I think that that's.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
understand that. I'm just telling you that this is not like technically, it's not written anywhere. But actually, this
They
document says
apply for the
nothing about
grant every year.
participating in the shows. I'm sorry.
Any show, how about any show that applies for a grant? You know, obviously Averbuk shows, Plushenko shows.
Then we don't have any shows apart from Atari Tudberidze that hasn't applied for a grant.
Yes. So do you think a government grant is different than a military affiliation? I would say
Yes, sure. Yes, I think so. I mean, we're not talking about my personal beliefs here, okay?
yes.
We're discussing the document. It says
Now, this
nothing
is really
about the
nuanced,
show.
right? Because this is a government that's supporting a war versus an actual military. Both, you know, the money ultimately comes from the same pot, but it's.
It says nothing about the shows. We have to be clear about that.
I think the ISU did that intentionally, right? To allow for someone, because if this were written by a strong attorney, I would include government funded shows, right? I would include that if I wanted to exclude athletes, right? That were in the Navka show. It's also interesting because obviously Navka is married to Dmitry Peskov. That makes that a little bit more dubious. Also, the fact that Navka employs Valyeva, you know, that's also, you know, that's more affiliation with doping. It's affiliation, but I don't. At the end of the day, I see the ISU excusing the Navka show, is what my gut says. But obviously, that document can be written either way.
How you call that in English? Devil's lawyer?
Devil's
Like
advocate.
yeah, devil's advocate. I feel like one now because I understand what you're telling about Navka shows, but again, sticking to the document,
Mhm.
Participating in her shows is not the reason not to give you a neutral status.
That's what I agree with you, actually. Even though I think in reality it's different, I see the ISU making that call. Also, if I were to be a stronger lawyer, right, I would look at First Channel as being a military propaganda outlet based on their programming, right? But I do not see anything written in this document that makes me think that First Channel affiliation would...
Imagine they had something like, if you ever appeared on Channel 1, then you cannot qualify. Then it's zero Russian athletes.
But remember, remember Hudar Badieva was doing a lot of television work when she was married to a producer, correct, from First Channel?
No, there was not much television work. She had a show on YouTube.
Yes.
But nothing on Channel 1, no.
But she was married to this affiliation with the producer. There have been other skaters who have participated more in First Channel, right, over the years.
Again, devil's advocate is on the line.
Yes.
Being married either to Peskov or to Kirill Blagov, that producer we're talking here about, does not prohibit you from applying for a neutral status, okay?
No, I think that participating in a show run by the wife of Peskov in reality should be a little bit more controversial than I think the ISU will say that it is.
I agree with you, but again, we're talking about the technical criteria stated by the ISU and the IOC.
We're not talking about Oksana Bayul's Instagram of who she will go after. I'm saying that we are talking about the legal.
Channel 1, regarding figure skating, Channel 1 is the biggest broadcaster of all the national competition. It's like, I wouldn't say it's like Peacock, but it has its own tournaments, like Channel 1 Cup. All Russian national team skaters have contracts with Channel 1. Not like they can say no to a contract like that. Channel 1 is very influential in Federation of Russian Figure Skating, and I don't know, if you're an active skater, how can you say no to Channel 1? You can't.
Now, I also thought what was missing in this document was...
They should have asked you, Dave.
They really should have. I'm a great paralegal. I was amazing. Okay, but I got bored. What about skaters that have had contracts with military affiliated organizations or that have provided funding or that have been under sanctions? So I'm talking about something like Sberbank or Gazprom, right? We have seen skaters that have had contracts with them. I believe Sherbakova.
Sberbank, active skaters, none.
Not active, but in the past we have seen Gazprom was...
Gazprom, none. None of them have contracts with the skaters who now skate in competition.
Are they still affiliated with Team Tudbrydza? Because remember when they had the G on the mask?
The G drive, yes, but not anymore. No, it's been a while since they had that contract.
Okay. Now, other federations have not classified the Russians as neutrals in the past, although this is changing. What is the Russian point of view, right? Because in the past, when they invited Russians as neutrals, but said that they wouldn't allow the flag, Yagudin, Taras, every Plushenko said, no Russia, no games. I remember in 2018, right? Those same people were there and said, we would never go without the flag. And then they turned their opinion and they said, well, if our athletes are going, we should support them, right? But they were very emphatic at first. What is Tarasova saying? What are, our favorite mouthpieces? Besmianova? What did I used to call them? The Russian Gaslighting Committee. What are they saying?
Russian Gaslighting. We call them Russian Fur Coat Committee.
Okay.
To be honest, I'm pretty surprised. Pretty much everyone is supporting the idea of going to the Olympics. It's mainly either the State Duma deputies, some, politicians who say that you shouldn't go there, or some some Twitter users who say that, without flag, we shouldn't go. But we have a new minister of sport, and he is very pro participation in the international events. Putin said...
Who is the current minister of sport?
Degtyaryov.
Okay.
It's and he is the current minister. He is current head of Russian Olympic Committee as well.
Okay.
So what they say is that we shouldn't give out any toxic comments. That's a quote about international competitions. We should watch out what we're saying, and we definitely should be a part of international sport arena. Of course, they add something like they miss us, and without us, sport is not complete. But the direction they're all taking is we have to be part of that international figure skating. And Tarasova, Bistimianova, Yagudin, everybody is very enthusiastic about going and participating. To be honest, I cannot name a single skater or coach or anybody involved in figure skating who would actually say that we shouldn't go.
Are
It's
they
pretty
saying that the
unanimous.
sport died without them? I would
You
advise
saying
them
what?
not. You know, they like to say that the sport wasn't interesting without them. You know, they're going to give these quotes eventually, but right now, are they saying, you know, they begged us back? You know, what are they saying? Are they
Of course, they say that without Russians, there is a problem with financing and sponsors and some media attention because the competitions are not that interesting anymore. What else do they say? That ISU struggles financially, which I know is not true because if you look at the financial report being made public every year by the ISU, you see that actually they do not depend much on the competition profit. But that's the thing that finally they realize they cannot do without us. That's one of the, phrases that you hear a lot. But again, to be honest, I'm surprised that nobody even discussing should we go or not. Because if that happened, let's say 4 or 5 months ago, before the Summer Olympics, I'm absolutely sure that somebody would have said, oh, you know what? We shouldn't go because these are not the conditions that are good for us. But now, surprisingly, nobody's discussing that. Everybody's very happy, celebrating. It's like a big celebration day here today.
Listen, when Tatiana Anatolyevna Tarasova was in the United States, she loved being in the United States. When she went back to Russia, she hated the West. So I am not surprised that she is falling in line with whatever she needs to say. She is a survivor. But Mishno
Not
Galyamov,
the worst quality for the coach.
Mishno Galyamov,
Okay.
are they neutral or not? I'm seeing a lot of people on Twitter that's saying that they are pro-war, but my
No, they're
understanding,
not.
I don't think that they are as pro-war as other skaters have been, in my opinion. You know, I don't think that they are like Nikita Katsalapov, in this situation.
They are not pro-war. And actually, the only thing I saw on Twitter and the only thing I can think of was this particular meeting with President Putin receiving those, gratitude for the gold medal at the Olympics. This is the only thing I can think of. There could be some shows, but again, we discussed the shows already. They never expressed any pro-war position. To be honest, I cannot even think of any active figure skaters today who ever express something like that. I know some of them are very anti-war, but they will never make it public, and I will never, say that not to harm them. But there are some top Russian athletes who are very anti-war.
Does this mean that my dear friend, our benevolent, innocent grandmother, Tatiana Nikolaevna Moskovina, has won again and that she is neutral? She did not attend any rallies. She doesn't have any doping violations. Her rink is not a military affiliated rink. Has she skated by once again as the true winner of the Russian nationals?
Yes, she is so wise. She is so smart, and she's a good person, right? I really think that some of her skaters can qualify as neutral. Not only the pair
Even if
team,
she is rumored to be KGB from back in the day, we would never be able to prove it. You know, you
but
would
that's
never.
your inside information. I haven't heard that.
I haven't heard it
Um,
either. Not
oh,
on.
really?
Yeah.
I have huge respect for Tamara Masklina for, always saying good stuff about foreign athletes, because for me it always hurts when I hear something from Julin or from some other coaches, because I don't think it's wise, I don't think it's good, I don't think it's any sense of camaraderie, and it shouldn't be like that. That's why I just applaud Tamara Masklina for being that wise and for remaining an icon. Okay.
So I think her team, Mishno Galyamov, has a very good chance of being named as the team, which would destroy Boykova Kozlovsky, who have made it their mission to beat this team. They left Tamara Moskvina. I think that was a bad decision for Boykova Kozlovsky.
I wonder if they think that was a bad decision, because when they switched coaches, I think what they wanted Eteri Tudberidze power in terms of, you know, decisions in the corridors, and they also wanted full attention, because what they lacked at the rink of Tamara Moskvina is that she had to split her attention between those two top pairs, and they wanted to be the only one. I don't think that this team can train, you know, alone, being being the center of coach's attention. I think they need this, you know, duel. They needed Mishin and Galamova to be better. And when they switched coaches, it turned out that sometimes we see 9 coaches by the board at the competition with Baykova and Kozlovsky, but who is their coach? Do we know who's coaching them? Do you know who is taking responsibility for their, you know, victories? Oh, for victories, of course, there are many people responsible for the victories, but who is responsible for the loss? Who's responsible for failures? Name the person. Yeah, it's not there. He's not there. Because, I mean, Alexei Tikhanov is a fantastic skater. He is a fantastic person. He's so nice. But has he coached anyone like top skater level? He's there for them. He supports them. But who is their coach? We don't know.
Did you notice the Team Tudberidze account posted highlights of their short program? Oh, every element except for the throw. They left it out after the short program on Instagram. I was laughing. Okay, let's talk about which skaters you think have a good shot of being named in February. Who would you look to be? We debated the women's event. I think they will try to push Petrosian. I think it's a risky choice.
It's a risky choice. I think they have some other girls to go with. It could be Anna Frolova, no quad, no triple axel. It could be Alina Gorbacheva. She's second after the short. She has quadsal, but also a problem of puberty on the way, right? Who else?
What rink is Frolova?
We have Sofia Muravyova from Plushenko School, although the season has not been her best, and her triple axel is gone at the moment, so I don't think she would be appointed. But I think it could be between Frolova and Gorbacheva.
And where are they coached?
Tukta Mysheva. Okay.
What about Sasha Trusova? Has anyone talked to her?
Sasha Trusova is too funny. Yeah, in one of the interviews before the nationals, she said that actually, if somebody invited her for the Olympic qualification in spring or whatever, she would consider that option. If only she knew that there is no option anymore, and then she should have stayed on after the test skates and participated in the season. If only she knew that the ISU would release this communication today, I'm sure she would have stayed.
What about
the same with Kosternaya, by the way?
Kosternaya should go for singles, okay? Because if she could go for, we could have you and our other friends, Pasha, we could produce a documentary about her, watching her training. It would get big ratings. I mean, she's so entertaining, right?
We can sell it to Netflix.
Netflix, she could skate the Billie Eilish program. Like, I have a vision, right? Yes. Great. Frolova and Gorbacheva, though, where are they coached? And what rink are they at? Because this gets interesting.
Frolova is coached in St. Petersburg under Rukavitsin, who is also the coach of Anastasia Gubanova. Gorbacheva is coached in Moscow by Sofia Fedchenko, one of the new Russian coaches. She's been helping the Chinese girl. I cannot pronounce her name. Apologies. She was at the Grand Prix final, junior Grand Prix final, and Fedchenko helped her a lot.
I would think I would go with Tukhtamisha or Frolova. I would go with Frolova because Gubanova has been very successful in international tournaments. So her coach has been involved in the politics over the last several years, the Europeans, you know, and the World Championships. So I think that coach is more familiar and more ingratiated with the public. I think it would be your sell. I would go with Frolova over Petrosian, honestly. To me, I look at Petrosian as this year's Valyeva, you know, and yeah.
Stan is a risky choice. If I had only one shot, I wouldn't risk that.
Yeah. I would go with Frolova. What about our men? Who are we thinking about?
Piotr Gumennik, that would be my choice. He's training in St. Petersburg, actually in Tamara Moskvina's school.
Cool. And obviously
He's
very
coach,
good boy.
he's
Very
coach
good
Victoria
program.
Daineka, technically, and she is his coach, but that's Tamara Moskvina's school. I would go for him because he
Tamara's gonna win.
has...
Yeah, she's gonna win again. Tamara is gonna win again. Just telling you.
If I had to bet my money on any coach, that would be Tamara Moskvina. Yes, that's for sure.
I think she could ask Alexei Mishin to help with his jumps a little bit, just to oversee. They know each other well. This is for Russia at the Olympics. I think, he helped Elena Beck for triple toe loop. What about
Piotr Gumennik hasn't been associated with any like political rallies or some shows. His reputation is pretty clean. He is in touch with Rafael Arutunyan for some technical consultations. I think he's one of the top choices for me.
I think we could send him to Rafael again before. Rafael likes this boy because he gave Rafael a lot of thanks for his technical success and the help that Rafael gave him. Didn't he offer to give Rafael some prize money at one point? And Rafael...
Yes, and Rafael said, no, please buy yourself something nice. Yeah, that was very sweet.
So I think that this boy, he's the smartest boy of all of them.
Actually, he is smart. He's at the university doing some very top-notch IT discipline or something. Like, he's damn smart. His SATs, like Russian analog of SATs, are, I don't know, to the roof, 2000. I don't know.
Mara Masvina told us in 1990 on American television that people from St. Petersburg were smarter than people from Moscow. Then when I interviewed her, she denied it. Then I found the clip and sent it to her, and she said, oh, what a smart lady. So what I will say,
everybody makes mistakes, right? If you find something that I used to say, let's say 25 years ago, I'm not sure it was something smart.
I think that we should send as many people from St. Petersburg as possible. I don't know that she was wrong, right? Look at Plushenko. He is from Moscow now. He is at all the rallies, not smart.
And also, we have to bear in mind that Anton Sikharulidze, who is now, the top boss of Russian Federation of Figure Skating, Anton Sikharulidze and Tamara Moskvina are definitely close, right?
He built her school for her. He's such a good boy. Yeah. She helped him at the 2002 Olympics. They go back. Yes. What about the dance team? This is obviously you have to go Stepanov and Bukin. They're controversial. I would think he's pro-war. Also, remember, Bukin was not invited to the Olympics in 2018 when they had the doping, and it was unclear why. It was never quite public.
I still don't know what happened then. Yeah, we don't know.
He and Megan Duhamel's best friend, Ksenia Stolbova, were the two Russian athletes who were not invited. I think that's a risky choice for Stepanov and Bukin.
There are some pictures and there are some Instagram posts by Alexander where he was at the State of the Union address by Putin and saying that this was, one of the greatest days of his life or something like that. Yeah. Technically, I never read anything pro-war from him. I haven't heard, to be honest, anything about him being pro-war. I just think that his coach is ineligible for being the support personnel for the neutral athlete. Although it's the 20th season of Ivan and Alexandra together. Yes. Oh, I called Ivan Alexander before, sorry, apologies. I think they are, I don't know, if I had to choose, I would have sent some of the new teams that we have because they're damn good. Some of them are really good, like Dario Cerisano that couldn't get a release to go to Italy. Now he's skating. Kaganovskaya. I know you all love Kaganovskaya. I know TikTok loves Kaganovskaya, but I don't see that on the ice. I don't see that happening on the ice, not yet. So
I would and we will get them back together and they can skate. Frankly, the boy doesn't matter.
If I had to choose, I would have sent Havronin and Narizhny. They are silver, they're bronze at Russian nationals. They're good. Please, if somebody can, go and find some clips, some videos of their programs. They're good. Their skating skills are good. Their programs are good. They're interesting. They're not a bad team. But judging by the result, and that Stepanov and Bukin are the only ones that are known at the international arena, right? They've beaten Lila and Lewis, right? And they've been like good. Actually, I think they've beaten Piper and Paul at the Olympics.
Yes.
I don't know. I have to check that.
Or had a good Olympic. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think they would be nominated, although that's also a risky choice. So if the federation decides not to take any risky choices, it wouldn't be Ivan and Alexandra.
Do you really think that Julia Bedieva is that good of a skater to go to the Olympics? I think David Dorishny is better.
She is definitely good for skating because she attracts a lot of attention,
A lot of
publicity.
character. Yes.
She has a character. I don't like their free because it's very Papadakis and Cizeron style without qualities of Papadakis and Cizeron. I think that when they switched to Julien, they acquired a lot of administrative support, but at the same time, they lost lots of their, individual skating character. I don't know. I just see them on the ice as a copy of somebody, and it's not nice to see a copy on the ice. Original is always better.
Would IM take them? I mean, they don't have a Russian flag right now. They don't have a neutral flag.
I'm not sure that IM would ever take any Russian team before the war is over.
Okay. Not because they're against it, but because it could hurt the other judges. I mean, they've made a lot.
No, they are against it. No, they are against it. No jokes. I don't think they are doing that. And PR wise, it would not be a wise decision.
Yeah, they did take Diana after some time.
But they're now from Georgia and they're very anti-war and they're open about that. So
that's true. All right. So our team.
What's else on your list? Tell me.
And I think we've covered most of it. So I think our team we're taking for.
Then let me just again, if we talk about this document, what's also important to highlight is that neutral athletes from Russia, from Belarus, will not be allowed to communicate to media. They are not allowed to be part of any press conferences, even if they medal. They cannot go to mixed zone. They cannot have any interviews with any media representatives. They have to be completely invisible. And that's one thing. And that's new because at the Paris Olympics in summer, it was not like that.
Why are they doing that? What else? Helpful to anyone. Part of being at the Olympics is talking to people around the world to potentially, to be interesting.
Yeah, but if you're neutral, they are afraid either that some provocative questions would be asked, or they're afraid that these neutral athletes would say something. I don't know. I don't understand it either, but this is what's happening. Also, there will be obviously no Russian flag or anthem. It's going to be some plain sport uniform of one color. We don't know which yet. It's going to be I1 letters on the uniform. What else? I think that what we don't know yet, again, very important thing, no team event for neutral athletes. So this is already 100% clear that Russia, any neutral country, instead of Russia, cannot participate in the team event. So we're out, that's for sure. What we miss is that we don't understand the timeline of when the ISU and the IOC is giving the answer, whether the athletes submitted by Russia are considered neutral or not, if we have green light or not. Also, what we don't understand is if Russian Federation of Figure Skating is going to make its nominations public. We don't know if we know about that. I think that, of course, the information would leak, but at the moment, they haven't announced it yet. Also, the ISU is not only figure skating, it's also speed skating and short track. What they also say is that there will be no relays for speed skating and short track. So no, even though in swimming, neutral athletes from Russia are allowed to participate in relays, but not in speed skating or short track, and no team event for the federation.
It's interesting. Well, I think that this will be quite an interesting season with the next couple of months. Again,
another thing that I forgot to mention is that this screening committee that they're going to establish, the ISU AIN Review Commission, the official name, is going to be consisting, of 3 ISU council members and 1 athlete representative. And I wonder if the names of that commission are going to be public as well, because this is interesting. It's one thing if you have some Hungarians from the ISU Council, and the other thing, if you have, let's say, Benoit Lavoie, how you call him? My goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, from Canada. I don't know, it can be so different. All I see is that the screening process is not going to be as transparent as I wish it would be. But on the other hand, I mean, it's positive for Russian figure skating that Russia is allowed to try to qualify for the Olympics. I don't know if it's positive like in other sense, but for Russian figure skating, everybody there is very happy that this is happening.
Yes. There is a part of the document where they will have to be screened by non-Russian or Belarusian doping agents. I have to say, I am
Yes.
personally disappointed. I think that this was an opportunity for the ISU to move towards a biological passport. And they could have required the Russians to either have this testing done or to pay for it for all figure skaters, right? They had Russia, where they wanted them, and they could have made this movement. I think it's a disappointment that the ISU hasn't tried to make a move to basically strengthen its own doping guidelines, because I think it was a real opportunity to restore credibility to the sport. So I'm disappointed that the document doesn't mention that. Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, but I have a feeling that this whole decision is not a very ISU initiative. I think it's the IOC. I think it's the IOC kind of influencing that decision, because they needed some winter federation, some winter sport federation to come up with this, decision. And skiing federation is not agreeing yet. And the ISU kind of, I think, decided to agree, but it's not their initiative. It's not a federation's initiative. It's not like the US Federation of Figure Skating woke up in the morning and said, okay, we need Russia at the Olympics. It's not like that. Also, what I forgot to mention, a funny thing actually, that consideration of a neutral status is not free of charge. We have our first Russian athletes from ski, how you call that? Ski mounting? Ski alpine discipline. It's when you
Okay. What?
No, not alpine skiing. It's the new discipline that is to be introduced at the new Olympics. I'm so sorry, I forgot the name. We called it ski alpinism, which is like when you first run with your skis, then you ski. It's something like new. So we have a couple of.
Haven't been in late classes this winter. I don't know what this is called.
I'll Google it now. But we have a couple of Russian athletes already got that neutral status, and they had to pay 5,000 euros for an application. Just to be considered. ISU, I contacted them today. ISU said that they don't know about the particular price of that consideration process, but it will not be free of charge. Like in gymnastics, it's around 1,000, I think, per person, per athlete. So it will take some time. Also, what this document states is that there will be some third-party organizations doing the review process of the neutral status. Like the ISU will consult with some, I think it was, there's a name here.
Lawyers, right? They'll have some sort of.
It's not the lawyer, it's the sport radar, one of the names here. So some Swiss organization that gonna monitor and review like the social media activity, some quotes in the media, so they will help the ISU to review the statutes. We don't know the names of all the organizations that are going to be, hired by ISU, but it could be many people contributing to that decision, and this is not transparent either. Probably it's better than nothing, but it definitely leaves more questions than the answers.
Well, I think it'll be very interesting. I look forward to the scandal and the fusion of it all.
Okay, I'm asking you a question.
Yeah.
Not whom you're gonna, submit, what names you're gonna submit, but is it good for figure skating that this all is happening?
Personally, yes, because we needed something to shake it up. If I'm being really honest, I've been really disappointed the last 3 years. I think that because of certain things that have happened, Japan became very Yuzuru Hanyu focused, but what also happened is in the US, after Tanya and Nancy, the late 90s, figure skating becomes too overblown, right? To where there's
Mhm.
great tournaments and shows, average tournaments and shows, complete garbage, right? But the market
Yeah.
becomes oversaturated, right? And in Japan, the market became oversaturated. I mean, this summer, there were shows in
Yeah,
Japan
it was
where
bad. It was bad.
there were no audiences and they were playing like Jenga on ice. Oh, you know, Ilya Malin was in a show where they were playing, like, it was just ridiculous, right? Like an insult to the viewers. Unfortunately, the Japanese market has started to really fall off, right? We have not seen Korea rise. The US has not had anything
In
substantial.
short track, yes, but not in figure skating.
Not
Yeah.
in figure skating. And the US and Canada, I mean, Canada, you know, had a very, very poorly attended nationals last year. Yes, there was cold weather, but there was no one there. They didn't have a TV contract, right? So this is a very bad
Yeah,
situation.
I couldn't find yeah, it was very bad. Yeah.
This year's US nationals are in Wichita, Kansas. We don't know if anyone will go or not to Wichita. This is not a figure skating hotbed, but it's a less expensive arena. You know, Boston Worlds are expected to be well attended. I do feel that without a Simone Biles superstar like figure, you know, there's no Virtue Moyer, no Papadakis and Cicerone, there's no Kim Yuna and Maosada, you know, no Nathan and Yuzuru. Unfortunately, I do think that we needed someone. If I looked at the if I looked at the Grand Prix final, I thought that the pairs were not strong enough. And I thought that the women's event was very poorly skated in the short program. Because of that, I think that, yes, I do honestly. If you're asking, like, take the war out of it, take doping out of it, do we need Russia? We need them for the actual strength of the competition. It's not needed for like an individual skater, like we can't live without someone, but we need one or two more skaters from a country and a federation that cares for that just extra bit of investment and energy. And that's what I think has been missing, is the fact that the Russians want to win, they come to win to every competition. And I do think that in pairs, for much of the last 3 years, we saw side-by-side double jumps. We saw, you know, older teams. We saw teams that are brand new, that are rising too quickly, you know, across the board. And I think that because of COVID, we're in a weird situation where so many of the federations were harmed by COVID financially that they build off of Russia not being involved, right? It's taken 3 years in the US for a skater who won an event to actually even be interviewed on television, right? It took Amber Glenn, you know, a couple days ago, she was on the Today Show, she was on the nightly news, she's,
Which is
you know,
big, right?
Ilya won. Yes, there were articles about him. He was on no talk shows, right? He didn't do anything afterwards. There's nothing to build on that. So I think, yeah, I think, and because Ilya needs to be able to make a money, an income through skating, obviously Russia being opens that door for him, right? I think Russia being back just makes the competition stronger. And I think it'll make all of the events a little bit spicier to watch, you know, where it'll be a little bit, so if someone does win, it's a bigger deal. I think,
You know what? Yeah.
I think Deanna Stellato
Go ahead.
Dudek was a great story last year, but that's kind of like a one-time thing, you know, like older skater wins, everybody's happy, but she hasn't been winning first place this season consistently. It's already sort of, you know, you need that extra storyline. Yeah.
But do you need three strong Russian pairs occupying the podiums at every competition?
I think it'll take a couple of years for that to happen, because what I think they should do is make these skaters earn their way back for the invitations at the
They
senior.
will. Yes, they will. What can happen in March at that ICU Council? They can allow Russians as neutrals, and they will start winning those quarters back little by little, slowly. I don't even know how that happens. If there is a Russian athlete being neutral, getting gold at next year Worlds, will that be a quarter for 3 people next season for that neutral country? I don't know, it's complicated. But all I can say is that if this document allows Elizaveta Toktomisheva compete along with Amber and Kaori,
Yeah.
I'm so happy it actually happened.
Yeah. I think that would be, and it's so funny that Tuktamisheva, she admitted to taking meldonium when it was legal, Everyone, no one cares. She is the most beloved, figure. People want her back in sports, even though, how old is she now? To me,
27.
7. She would be older for a figure skater, right? People still want her back. They still want her to go to tournaments. So I would like to see her on the Grand Prix one more time, personally. Yeah.
She is a person, 28. Sorry, I had to check. 28. I just think that it's going to be like Diana Stella Dudek is big for figure skating in terms of a real movie star. The same thing applies to Elizaveta Toktomisheva coming back. I just hope she finds motivation now. And I mean, it's not about that. It's about Russian Federation of Figure Skating believing in her. So
And
I
I
don't
think it'll
know.
make Diana even more intense. And I think it'll make her a little bit more of an underdog again, which would be beneficial for her to be, I don't think, she was, right now the defending world champion. I think everyone expects Misha Nakayamov to be number one. So I think it would make the other skaters chase them again, and it could make the pair discipline more exciting. I know Megan
Yeah,
Duhamel
I've heard.
comments and disagree with us, but this
Yeah.
is
Oh,
my, like
I
I thought that the
yeah, okay.
standard skating in the women's event and the pairs at the World Championships didn't cut it. This for last year. I thought the other events were better. And obviously
I
I
have
stand.
heard from an yeah, I'm sorry. I have heard from a number of Western coaches, let's put it this way, that absence of Russian skaters actually is not good for their skaters because there is no competition that would motivate them.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard that quite a number of times.
I agree. To me, Japanese has such beautiful skating, right? It's always interesting because we cover the two national championships over Christmas in the US every year, right? And Japanese nationals, it's very beautiful. It's very polite. When it had Yuzuru, he had that kind of magnetic competitive energy, but their other skaters don't exude that same, whether or not they have it, they don't show it, right? They don't show that same.
Nobody is Yuzuru, and I'm afraid
Yeah.
that would not happen for another, let's say, couple of generations of skaters. That's not even a generational talent. I think it's just a phenomenon that, doesn't happen pretty often.
But
We
he
have to learn how to
wanted to.
live without Yuzuru Hanyu, and figure skating has to learn its way to be successful without Hanyu. That's the only option. We cannot always keep looking back. It's like, oh, remember those Winnie the Poohs on the ice, and it was so big, and the Japanese fans following him around all the competitions. No, we have to. ISU and figure skating in general has to find the way to be successful without Hanyu. It should not be a sport that is based on one particular celebrity. It should be a system that produces celebrities and supports celebrities and actually provides a red carpet for celebrities, It should be the opposite way, not like depending on Yuzuru Hanyu, but creating new Yuzuru Hanyus.
I agree. And I think things got a little bit out of hand towards the end of his career after
It was bigger
2018.
than figure skating.
It became bigger than figure skating, and it became not about the results, and it became something else,
Only about showing up. Yeah, showing at the rink. Yeah, I know.
which is not
But I mean, he's
his
a
thing.
phenomenon, right?
Yes, and he was amazing. But what I was saying is that he openly expressed a desire to win, right? And for Shoma to beat him was obviously a huge honor and emotional thing, right? We don't see that same sort of competitive, open expression from Yuma
Yeah,
Kagiyama, right? There's something
yeah.
missing when he competes against Ilya Molina. I think that we need something back to just excite people, because the fact that Kaori Sakamoto has won the competition the last 3 years, not really improving, it felt stale to me, right?
Stagnation. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Imagine if Vladislav Dikidji, the only person that successfully landed the quad axel in practice, not in competition, imagine if he qualifies and we see the duel of quad axels. I think that would be interesting. We'll
Yes.
see.
I would want, drug testing all around for everyone, everyone biological passport is what I'm saying around the world.
Of course, this is very important. Of course, what we need to have in mind that only clean athletes can participate.
But I think
And this is very important. And people do not actually discuss that much in Russia. What they discuss is the criteria based on the political reasons, but actually there's no discussion going on about doping. I've been saying that a lot. It's way bigger in America, in the West, than in Russia. Nobody considers that to be a real reason for anything or that important. Not like everybody is taking doping, but it's just, it's not on the front page. It's not discussed.
It's interesting because I think for a lot of people, their last image of Russia at the Olympics is Trusova screaming, and I do think that Russia has to make up for that and what happened, because I think that that was very upsetting to many people who watched and left. Honestly, I think that it's so tied to Valyeva, her yelling, and that whole scene that happened at the end of the women's. I think it was, Russian figure skating was so exciting. It was cutthroat, and then it turned very dark for viewers. And I think that Russia maybe is not as aware of the perception and the lasting impression that that moment had, at the end of the women.
Nobody understands that in turn. Like Alexandra Trusova breakdown is considered to be a one-time episode of a girl who just didn't get what she wanted, and nobody's making a big deal out of it, at least not as big as, let's say, in America.
Yeah, I think that was considered in the West to be Tudoridze's persona and fault, for many years.
Although if there would be a documentary about Alexandra Trusova, the same as about Alena Kosternaya, I think we probably would have learned a lot about Alexandra's character, and that kind of breakdown probably was not like something extraordinary. She's definitely the person who decides what she wants, and if she doesn't get that, she can be really mad.
I also think that, Valyeva had another, documentary. It was on Japanese TV the next year, and Tudoridze's character was not good either. In that one, it was not positive for her. So, but Valyeva was actually quite diplomatic in that. But yes, I think a Trusova documentary would be very interesting to watch. So I'm sure we're going to have an interesting thing, but I think Tamara Moskvina is going to be on top once again and at another Olympic Games, amazingly, if you look at the criteria. But
if I was a figure skater, I would have never left Tamara Moskvina in the middle of the Olympic cycle. That's for sure.
And she even forgave Boykova after she threw her credential at her at the World Championships. It was all okay, but
because Tamara Moskvina is bigger. Why do I keep saying Moskvina? She's Moskvina in Russian. Tamara Nikolaevna is bigger than any of her athletes. So
yeah,
I think suggest that this should be the positive note that we end our wonderful conversation today.
Well, yes,
you're welcome. It's not very wise. I mean, we have met less than a week ago.
Yes.
So let's hope that ISU does not issue a new communication that we need to discuss. Let's just have some peaceful Christmas, and everybody have Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and enjoy some Japanese nationals. Find some time to watch some Russian nationals, some video clips from Russian nationals, because now probably you will see some of those skaters at the Olympics. Just find some time for some good figure skating, no matter from what season and from
Russian
what country.
figure skating back on YouTube. If they're back in international tournaments, I don't like to watch things on onetv.ru. Like, it's just so much easier.
Yeah. That's an ongoing conversation that definitely Russia should start posting some video clips of some Russian skaters if they want judges to watch them and to know them, if they want the audience to know them. I keep talking about that start, doing good PR for the skaters, because it's necessary. It's, 2024. Almost 2025. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, everyone.
Will Wakaba wind up in the top 3 at Japanese nationals tomorrow? She's right on the edge.
I don't know. I wish. I really, 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 we discussed that a million times. I hope so. Let's put it this way.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Okay. Merry Christmas.